on the United Public Radio Network, 105.3 FM in New Orleans.
Well, that would probably do it, right? Okay, having a day. Anyway, sorry guys, sorry. Welcome to our Wednesday night segment. We are broadcasting live on the United Public Radio Network, and of course, 105.3 FM from the Gulf Coast. A little bit scary going on in the Gulf Coast, as we know, with Hurricane Milton. Our big thoughts. My God, I don't even know. How do you say anything in a situation like this? Our hearts go out to the people of North Carolina from Helena. Our hearts going out to the people of Florida right now. We have friends and colleagues out that way, and we hope that everybody can come out unscathed. Man, we love you. We love you, and we are rooting for you, of course. So we hope that we can just get through this. So tonight, I was not going to go through all of this again, but tonight, and I know Wayne is trying to get online here as well. So I'm just trying to reconnect. We are having some major tech issues right now coming out of New Orleans, which doesn't help right now. So Roku is having a problem. If people are literally watching on Roku, God, I'm trying to reconnect you as we speak, but I don't know if it'll be a thing. So bear with me, guys. I'm just going to try to mess around with this a little bit. Bear with me, just trying to get Roku back up and at it here. All right, one second. Bear with me. Here we go. And let's see what happens. Okay. So far, so good. I think we're back up. Anyhow, a lot of people know Wayne for being the author of the Vampyre Tales, of course. A lot of people know him from a lot of the paranormal shows and so on that you've seen him on with me as well, and you've seen him on various shows that we've done together, actually. Of course, he is my compadre, and there's Roku give me an issue again. Sorry guys, Roku just may not be a thing, and I do apologize, but it's getting a little bit turbulent so out there. So unfortunately, we'll try again in a little while. Anyway, as Wayne is trying to get himself on here to join us, I'm just going to go into some brief stuff about Wayne. So Vampyre Tales, a lot of the paranormal stuff we're all very familiar with. But what a lot of people don't know about him is that he has essentially been a consultant for all of these years doing Halloween haunts. Now, some parts of the world, that may not be a big thing, but it really is a big thing here. We love it in North America, and there are conventions everywhere for it. Wayne has been doing this for so long. He's taught, classes and drama classes on character building and having backstories for your haunted houses. He's basically been able to look at something and say, okay, What is it you want to recreate? You want to recreate a scene from this horror movie? Okay, this is how we do it. And he's taught people how to do it on a budget. He's taught in high schools. He has done all kinds of things. And he'll have great stories to tell, of course. But in the meantime, we just have to wait for him to get here. And that's exactly what we're going to do. Roku's given an issue again. I don't know how to get around it. I apologize. All I can do is watch it go like this. So people are all chiming in. Amelia's not with us tonight. She is under the weather. I don't think we're going to be seeing her this week at all. Claudette, hello. No, we're not actually in the path of the hurricane, thankfully, but the studio is on the Gulf Coast. So anything can happen. So far so good though, so we're very grateful. Heidi, hello. Z-Sun, hello. Janie, hello. Dolly, hello. Melissa, you're up. Hey, how are you? Okay, fantastic. Alan, hi. Oh my God. Ed, hello. Prayers and love to countrymen. Yes, Asheville fighting back. Oh my gosh. Yes. My goodness. It's just been something. Kathy, hi. Oh, it's so nice to see you guys all chiming in. Jonathan, whoa, how are you? Wowzers. So still trying to reconnect Roku. My God, I do apologize. I don't know what we can do about it. I know people are watching. It's become a real hotspot for the show. So we are grateful. I see Wayne is in the green room. He's just getting ready. So we're just killing a bit of time. I can't miss Wayne. I know. I know. Melissa is actually part of my paranormal team and such. She's also my friend, and she's one of my compadres who we went to Europe with when we spent time in the haunted forest. Yeah, I know, right? A lot of stories to tell. You probably would have known her as well for being on some of the shows talking about that exact segment, which has just been like crazy. I think 2 different shows came out of that one just because of all the stuff that happened, which went on Haunted Case Files, if I'm not mistaken. But then it also went on Hotel Paranormal, if I'm not mistaken, because things happened after the fact. Things followed back. Things were going on in the hotel. All kinds of different things were happening. So it was a long story. That was a gift that kept on giving, that haunted forest. And we're going to talk a little bit about that tomorrow night, actually. We have a new show starting right here on UPRN called Ethereal Encounters Unveiled. And it's going to be tomorrow night at 5 p.m. Eastern time. It's going to be every Thursday at that time. And she's got great guests, and we are going to definitely talk about the haunted forest and a lot of other haunted locations, right? 'Tis the season. I know. It sure was. I think it still is in some cases. So Wayne, are you ready? Just yay, nod, yes, good, okay. All right, here we go. Without further ado, hey,
Hello.
my gosh, what an ordeal. You made it.
Yep, never again.
Great, that's great. That's good to know. Thank you.
Yep.
Well, welcome.
Thank you.
It's cool not having you here, not having to be in chat this time.
That's different.
Hi, Michelle. That's different. Yeah, well, you get to talk about some things you want to talk about. So, and I thought we would do things a little bit different, because I was just explaining that everybody knows you for being the author of the Vampyre Tales. People know you for paranormal television, Haunted Manor, having stories that you've done. So this is something entirely different, because here's something people don't know about you, is that you actually love to build haunted houses. And you've been doing this for like eons, and you've gone on to be a pretty much a consultant on it, and you've done speaking all over the place and theme parks. And where do you want to start with it?
I don't know. It just depends where you want to go with it. I mean, it's a passion I've had for a lot of years. I haven't actually built it in quite some time, but it started when I was just a wee kid. You know,
Right.
it was influenced by the TV shows like The Hilarious Hustle Frankenstein and the Addams Family and stuff like that. Got to remember, like back when I was like 10, it'd been like 1973 or 72, and it just wasn't commonplace. Like now you can go to Walmart and you can buy everything you could ever imagine, like animatronics, all kinds of stuff. Back in the day, you couldn't get any of that stuff. I
Right.
mean,
Right.
Christmas was the big one, and that was the end of it. Maybe Valentine's Day or Easter, but
Mm,
nobody celebrated Halloween. You're weird if you celebrate Halloween.
mm.
And there was one old guy down the street, around the corner, down by the park, and he would decorate the place up with little tombstones and things. And I thought that was kind of cool. So at the tender age of about 10 or 11, I started figuring out how to decorate my parents' yard. And it started off with like just cardboard tombstones, and it basically escalated from there to the point where my father was just like, why can't you just go get candy like every other kid? I was just like, well, I'm not every other kid, man. That's just me.
Right. 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 And here
Yeah.
you are.
And here I am. Yeah,
Here you are.
just delve deep. But it's to give my age away. It's like there was no internet back then. Like, I mean, there's no internet, nothing. Everything that I had to envision making, I had to just draw it out on a piece of paper, get scrap wood or scrap pipe, and try to figure out if it will move, will it work? Does it have the scare factor without being silly? You know what I mean? And
Mhm.
that was trial by fire. A lot of stuff blew up.
Mhm. Yeah, because I mean, you used to do up your own place out
Oh yeah,
in, like, Toronto area, and how was that like?
that was crazy. I mean, it just evolved, and it went from just doing, like when I had my first house in Etobicoke, I did the front yard and made a few things, and people digged it or thought it was cool. And then it kind of just evolved. It started getting really, really complicated. I had a really good friend of mine. He would come over in August. Like we would start mapping out what we were going to do, and then it evolved right into the backyard. And we had a pie-shaped lot, so it was very small in the front and huge in the backyard. So we would just have like mazes and cemeteries and ghouls and gates and overgrown stuff. We would get the city clippings from all the trees and brush. We'd get them all brought in, and we would stake them all on the ground. And the yard would just be overgrown in about 3 days. It was crazy.
Hmm. And you
A lot of
actually
fun.
had actors too and volunteers.
Yep.
So we went full on like theatrical with this.
Oh yeah, it was stupid. It was a lot of fun. It was so ridiculous. I mean, we would get my friends get their kids over with and I mean kids. I mean 17, 18-year-olds that can take instruction.
Right.
But it was an ordeal. Like we had at the height of our career, it was I think we had about 17 or 18 actors for one night.
Hmm.
So it was wild. Our lineups would be about 400 plus people down the street. So we had to have actors actually walk the lines and entertain people while they were waiting, because it was a 20 to 40-minute wait.
Crazy.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's crazy. So essentially, how long would it take you to prepare just for this one night?
In the latter years, that we were doing it, it was we would start sort of at the end of August, beginning of September, and we would work pretty much every night after work, and every weekend that we had off, we would be building this thing, and it would be all laid out, and we'd have a sort of a roadmap to follow through. It's like, okay, the path is going to go this way, it's going to turn left, we're going to have a person here, or a robotic thing there, or something like that, and it would have to all be tested, and we had cameras everywhere, so we could actually monitor every corner of it. And then the actors, the people would come in 2 weeks ahead of time, and people didn't really understand at first. I had a lot of the parents and coming over going, well, why do we have to come over like why can't we just show up on Halloween? Well, you have no idea what's involved. You don't understand until you get here. And they would get here and go like, holy smokes, wow, this is crazy, this is nuts. Because then it would rival some of the theme parks that were around at the time, and it was just in my backyard.
Right.
Yeah.
And were your neighbors supportive, or was it just like, is that freaking guy again doing his stuff?
Most were pretty supportive. Most were. There was the odd one or two that was just, they
Right.
If the stuff wasn't taken down by like November the 2nd, I'd have notes in my mailbox.
Right.
Anonymously written. I know who you are still, but
Right.
you think you're clever, but you're not. So anyway,
Right. And
a lot of
how
fun.
about like parents coming in with their kids? Like what was the fear factor like? Were the kids okay with it, or were
That
parents
was
kind of like,
that was something we had to address like pretty early on as we got bigger. Not when I was just the kid down the street, but when we started to get really bigger and we had a crew of people working, we had to come up with a system that would work, right? So I ended up becoming like sort of the master of ceremonies at the sidewalk where the gates were that got you into the property. And if you can picture like, 12-foot gargoyle gates with, what looks like iron gates and cement and everything, that's what would open up for you to go in, right? But I had a headset and everybody was mic'd, so we knew where everybody was. Like I said, there was cameras and things there, but we just basically made it really simple. It was hot or cold, right? So people would come up and there would be the mom and the dad or whoever the guardian was, and they would have like their troop, right? 3 kids, 2 kids, 5 kids, whatever. No more than 7. We wouldn't let more than 7 people go in. And I would explain to them, have you ever been here before? No, I haven't been here before. Okay. So no one's going to grab you. No one's going to touch you. How are your kids with, are they afraid already? Because I can usually tell by the look on the kid's face by the time they're there, if they're going to be all right. And if they're not, I would just simply quietly say into the mic, I got 7 people coming in. We want it cold. So what that meant was nothing would happen. You would just walk through and see the lights and see the smoke and see the tombstones and all the static displays. Nothing happened. There was just a few sound effects and that's it. None of the actors would come out of the woodwork, as it were. None of the robotics would be triggered. All of that would be shut off. So you just have the experience of walking through. Now, if we got in, and they were okay with everything, they said, "No, we're good with everything. Give us your worst." I would say, "Okay, I've got 7 people coming in. Make it hot." And that was as simple as it was. And people would then realize, okay, the next group of people coming in, they want their pants scared off. And we delivered.
Right. So this is pretty much, how this started. And then you went on, like you just pretty much made a career out of this, like essentially. Like,
yeah, it was. Yeah,
like,
for sure.
so where did you go from there? Like, I know you did, you were a character for Paramount
Yeah.
Canada.
Yeah.
Okay. So do you want to go there next, or am I missing a step?
I'm missing a little bit of a step there.
Okay, well, we can back up.
Back it up. Yeah. There was a number of things that we as a group would go to when I say like out of the Halloween. Okay. So it was like I belonged to a funeral coach club. So we all had like vintage hearses or hot rod hearses, whatever you want. They were pretty cool cars. And so we would go to various shows and be part of that sort of clique of people. It was pretty cool. And the margin between like funeral coaches and Halloween is pretty thin. It's very, very slim. So I was at a car show, and our cars were there and stuff like that. And we just got jamming with like a bunch of people that were there. And then the next year I was asked if I would actually speak about some of the stuff that I was doing. And that's how it just started, very gently. I didn't really sort of go out there and go, "Hey, I'm your guy," because that was just something I was very passionate about. Right. So that's how that sort of evolved. And I was at one of these car show convention, Halloween, sort of, there's psychics. There's everybody there. There's ghost walk people.
Like a convention of sorts.
Yeah, it was like a convention.
Right.
I just can't remember the name of it. It was like eons ago.
Right.
And so I went in and I basically said, this is kind of what I do. This is how to make a haunted house believable. Like there's the real haunted houses, which I lived in for a long, long time. Then there's the theatrical one. And there's a big difference between the two. But if you want to make it believable, I was always like, when I wrote the Vampyre Tales, I wanted it to be believable. I wanted it to be the guy next door, the woman next door, someone you could actually have a conversation with and really like the person, and it was the same when I built haunted houses, or I advised on building haunted houses. So I did this conference, And a couple of people came up to me and they were just like, holy mackerel, like you just set the bar so high. The one guy says like, can I buy you? Can I just take you home? Because he was really enamored with how easy it was to put stuff together and take his whole haunted house thing into a new direction. So that's how I started doing that kind of stuff. And it was doing that I got hooked up with one of the big theme parks here, and I don't want to mention names, but they approached me, and my answer was, I'm too busy. And I wasn't just trying to be big headed. It was just I was too busy. I couldn't give them that kind of time. There was no way. Anyway, their head of entertainment got a hold of me one day, and then she phoned me up, and she just says, look, you just come down, just come down and talk to us. I'm like, I'm too busy. I can't. Just give me an hour. I'm like, okay, I'll give you an hour. I'll come down. I'll give you an hour. See what we can do. Anyway, she explained what she wanted. And she said, like, I just love the character that you create. Like, they're so believable. We need a character to be sort of our front man for our show. And I'm just like, well, yeah, maybe. It's right in the heart of my season. Like, you're asking me to take time off that to help you do your thing, right? But they were throwing money around, so I'm like, okay, well, let's go on. I said, okay, I'll give it a whirl. I'll tell you what, I'll come out to your orientation night, and I'll talk to your people, and we'll go from there. Okay, I don't know about your front man character, but I'll go from there. Right. And it was a hit. We really gelled, so it was really cool. So we went from there, and I educated a whole bunch of people on what to do and what not to do when being scary, and it seemed to work. So
can I post a picture of you at an event, like in costume? Like,
yeah, of course.
Okay, I'm just emailing it to myself, so I'll put it up. It was with a coach.
Oh yeah, I know the one. Yeah,
it's a great picture, right? So so when it comes in, I'm just going to open it up, and well, that was quick. Wowzers. All right. So, okay. So this essentially is you in character.
One of my characters. Yeah.
One of your characters. Okay. Here we go. It came right up. Look at that. There. So
that's the Victorian me, and that's my car.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was the one of the characters, like the old school, 1800s, late 1800s characters that I would portray. I also did the more modern vampire with the same kind of coats, but they were leather and like no top hat, obviously, and stuff like that. So right.
That's a great picture, though. I love it. So
thank you.
That's the way it goes. That's the way it goes. That's the way it's getting shown.
Well, it's to show you that's the kind of work that goes into some of this stuff. It is mind blowing, because I said that in the early days there was nothing. You can't just go like www.coolhalloweenstuff.com and get like 5 million hits. It was nothing. You had to just figure it out, right? So like when I started creating this vampire character way back when, way before all of this stuff, like I had my teeth made by a dental reconstructionist, and it was quite a funny meeting. I came in to see him, explained what I want. He actually got quite huffy with me about it, right? And he's like, "What do you think? You think my job's a joke? Is that what you think my job is? A joke?" I'm like, "Why would I think that?" He goes, "Well, I put people's faces back together." I'm like, I'm cool with that, He's like, "Well, this is expensive." And I'm like, "Okay, well, how expensive? This is what I want, right?" And he goes, "Well, it's going to be X number of dollars." I'm like, "Cool. When can we start?" And he just looked at me like I had two heads. He's like, "Oh, I don't understand." I said, "I want fangs that look so real. I want to be able to eat an apple. Can you do it? Yay or nay?" He's like, "I can do it." Okay, let's make it happen. Here's money. Make it go. Do it. And you know what? That guy was so enamored with being able to do this. He opened an entire side business doing teeth and cosmetic stuff for theater just because of me.
Right.
And like my contact lenses. I mean, back in the day, you could get the little round ones, little red ones or whatever. But like I wanted my whole eye black, or I wanted my whole eye red or blue. I didn't want any iris, nothing, right? I didn't want a pupil, zero pupil, nothing, right? And I had to go get those custom made. I had to go see an optometrist, an ophthalmologist, an eye surgeon. And she goes, "Well, they're called sclera lenses. And they're basically Band-Aids for your eyes. They just stick on while your eye is healing." I'm like, "How painful are they?" I'll show you. And I popped one in. I'm like, I can do that. So then let's paint them colors. So my costuming and everything that went with it was top quality, because that's what you need if you want to believe that you are something that you're not.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, yeah, essentially, like the teeth, you could literally eat with them. Like they were just,
Yep.
Very
Yeah, I would sit in the cafeteria at the big theme park, and it was so convincing. Once I got into character, I didn't break character, not for anything. So even when we went in to get food and stuff like that, like the whole table would clear. I'd walk in and everybody get up and leave, right? And I didn't come running in with blood drooling and yelling. I just walked in calmly, and like I'd walk to the counter, I'd point at the chicken, and the girl would shake her head and point at the wall. So I had to back up, and then she would get the chicken, and then I give her the money, and she'd shake her head and point at the counter. So I had to put the money on the counter. And then
That's just what she took anywhere near.
She'd make that little motion, and I back up, and then she'd take the money. This was every night, nonstop, every single night.
So you're pretty terrifying.
I can be. I had restraining orders in the park from the staff to stay away, like 50 feet away from the staff.
And you were their head character.
I was their head character. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So how did you? I know some of these stories, but I think it's a riot to share them. So
which one you want? There's a million of them.
I know. So I tell the story about when you went in, and it was a manager basically didn't think that you could scare her because she didn't scare easily.
Oh, that was early days.
Yes.
Yeah, that's early days. So I got introduced to the staff there, and the head of entertainment basically says, this is our, I don't know what she was called, basically her assistant, like the one below her kind of thing, right?
Right.
So I walk in, I meet her, and I just had my teeth in, like I didn't even have my eyes or all of my stuff in, right? Nothing, right? So I sit with her, we chat, we start jamming for a little bit, and she's just like, I hear you're pretty scary. I said, I've been told that, I have a way with people. And she goes, well, like you have to run the interview with me to convince me that you're scary. And I'm like, okay, fair enough. How do you want to start? She goes, well, fair warning. She goes, I've been immersed in this stuff for 2 weeks. So, I'm ready for anything, right? I'm like, oh, 2 weeks. Wow, 2 weeks. That's a long time. I said, I've been doing this since I was 10 years old. And she kind of looked at me and she's like, oh, okay. How are we going to do this? I said, well, here's how we're going to do it. We're going to start like this. And then I went, oh, excuse me, hold on a second. My phone has been driving me crazy all day. Hang on a second. Can you just give me a minute? And she goes, yeah. So I'm fumbling for my phone. And I basically I'm down like this, fumbling for my phone. I just went right over the table, went right at her over the table with the fangs. She rolled out of the chair and landed on her butt. And I sat back down and she goes, you're hired.
Perfect.
And that was that. So,
and you had staff members and people who would not come anywhere near you in the park at all.
No, not at all. Like zero. They would run. Literally, one woman ran into the security room and locked the door, and she was one of the security people. That's just like unreal. But like I get into the character and I stay there, and I don't come out. I mean, I prepared the park like months in advance. Like I would show up at the park, 3 or 4 weeks before they even opened for their Halloween event. I'd show up in my car, my hearse, with a complete vampire regalia on, and I'd bring donuts for the guys at the security booth. And they're like, hey, man, oh, it's nice to see you. Like, wow, you're all dressed up. That's really cool. Like, what are you here for? And I'm like, what do you mean? And so you're all dressed up and stuff. And I'm like, dressed up? What are you talking about? He's like, oh, this is how you are all the time. I'm like, yeah. Yeah, I just brought you donuts. I thought you guys could use some donuts. Anyway, catch you later. So they're already geared up. Like they're talking already. You know that guy, the vampire guy, he came around. It's not even starting for 4 weeks. And he's here. He's all like pasty skin, and man, he's crazy. Right. Yeah. That gets around the park pretty quick.
So you just started priming them.
Oh, big time. Big time. I never dropped character at all. I mean, one time we had to do an interview. A group of us had to do a meet and greet for some dignitaries. I think it was the mayor or the chief of police. I can't quite honestly remember now. Mm-hmm. But the head of social media, the media person. She comes up, she thanks me and stuff, and I appreciate coming in. She says, I know it's pretty cold out there tonight. Do you want me to get the cook to whip you up a sandwich or something like that? And I just smiled. I looked at her. I said, oh, it's fine. I'm fine. I said, I already had a little someone on the way to the park. She said afterwards, she said, I know you're joking, but in that moment, she goes, the chill went right up my back, right into my head. She just I couldn't unhear what you just said. It just rocked my whole night. It made me completely unstable.
Right.
Yeah.
So you have those who have the fear factor, but then you've got those who are very enamored with the vampire.
Oh yeah.
You almost had to beat women off with a stick for real.
Oh, for real. Yeah, for real. It's crazy. It's always what I tell people a lot of times when I talk about building a character and things like that, when you have people working in a scare kind of theater, is if you're not going to scare everybody.
Mm-hmm.
You're just not if a guy is scared of clowns and I walk up to him dressed as a vampire, he's going to laugh and go, cool costume, dude.
Right.
Don't try to overwork that guy and try to scare him, because you're not going to win this battle.
Mm-hmm.
You won't. Just give him a wink and a nod and say thanks or whatever and move on.
Mm-hmm.
Equally so, if a guy's afraid of airplanes and you haven't got an airplane in the park, this guy's not scared.
Right.
End of story, right?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you do get the other people that are just totally over the top. They come in and they're falling down, oh my God, it's a vampire, fall down, and they're terrified.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've got the other one hey, what are you doing after the park? He's busy. Doing what? You don't want to know.
Yeah.
That sort of thing, right? Mm-hmm. But we would play it up. I mean, we played. There's a lot of fun stories. We played a lot. I would get to the park an hour, maybe even more, before I even had to be on, because I need that time to just absorb the atmosphere of the night and make everything my own. Make the backdrop my own. Make all the houses my own. All the buildings my own. It's my park now. My park. I'm here to entertain you. You're coming here. Right? I want you to have a good time. On one of these nights, I'm walking around, and there's a young girl down cleaning up one of the store venues, an ice cream place or something, and she waves at me. So hey, all happy, right? Little happy little thing. And I just look at her and I start making my way towards her. And then as I get closer, I'm 6'2", and she was probably 5 foot nothing. Right. So I look friendly when I'm 50 yards away, not so much when I'm 20 yards away. All of a sudden the smile disappears. She drops the broom. She goes into the ice cream store, realizes that the doors don't lock because you're inside a theme park. So that's that. So I come walking in, and she darts all the way to the back and hides behind the ice cream machines with her friend. And I'm just hello. And she's just go away. I'm I can't. You invited me in. Oh, I don't want to see you. No, yeah, you do. For sure you do. So anyway, long story short, basically coaxed her all the way to the counter. And I said, I got to shake your hand. She's why? I'm I don't know. It's just a vampire thing. It has to happen. Otherwise I can't leave. So she's just like this, trying to shake my hand. So I shake her hand, and she goes, wow, that was great. And I'm walking out. She goes, you're not scary at all. And I'm just like that Bugs Bunny stop, and I back up. I don't turn around. I back up all the way to the counter. I turn around I'm really glad that you think so. I said, I'll tell you what. I said, I'm going to come see you at break, and you and I are going to go take a little walk together. She's I don't want to do that. I'm yeah, you do. And I walked out. So I came back at 8:00. Her manager's dying. She goes, this girl pleaded with me for an hour to let her take break early so that you wouldn't be here when she got here. It was good. But there's tons of stories like that. Just tons and tons of them.
Right. So essentially then, you need a backstory for your character. You need to be on cue at all times.
Always.
So before we get to that, I hear Alan has got a comment, because when you get into character, stay with it. Isn't that called method acting? I might be wrong about that.
That could be. I don't know. I've never heard, I've heard the term, but I never went to acting school. I never went to drama school. Nothing. I was a P poor student. So I just do what I like, and when I like something, I get stupid with it. You know, I'm glad I don't have a really addictive personality, because I died a long time ago. You know, for sure. Because if I'm into it, I'm really deep into it.
Right.
You know, I mean,
So then,
like, go ahead.
Character. Well, a character. You have to build to be authentic. You need to build a character. You need to be on cue. So, what is involved in all of that?
Well, it's a two-part.
What sets you apart from most?
It's a two-part thing. Let's just back it up a little notch here. I went to do a consult at a haunt out in Ottawa, Orleans and Ottawa. Yeah, Screamers. That's right, Screamers. Yeah. They asked me to come out, and they said, we really like you to come out and do this thing with us and give us some pointers. And so when I went out there, I walked around, nice little setup, and I said, "Why is your place haunted?" And they're like, "Well, what do you mean?" I'm like, "Well, what do I mean? I mean, like, you say there's zombies and there's ghosts and all kinds of stuff. Like, why don't the zombies just walk into town and kill everybody? Why are they stuck here? What's your backstory?" I didn't have one. I said, "Well, there's no cohesiveness to if you have no backstory and your actors don't know what the backstory is, then there's no cohesive. There's nothing that works, right? Like, so when they go from the zombies to the clowns to the insane asylum, all that stuff, there's no connection. You don't have a connection. So here we are. So that was the first part. And then when I teach the actors, I said, you have to believe in you. You know, like I'd walk through, you know, and there was the first lady I met, and she was at the reception desk of this overturned insane asylum, right? And I walk in, and she just screams at me, and I'm like, "Why are you screaming at me?" And she looked at me, and I'm like, "Why are you screaming?" She's like, "I don't know. I'm trying to be scary." I'm like, "Oh, okay. Well, let's talk a little bit about that, right?" You know, like, get into character. Like, from what I'm told, like, the inmates overran the building and have taken over and killed everybody. Okay, so like, now you're not really the receptionist. You're just a person who should be locked up and isn't. So now how are you going to treat me? And she didn't really know what to do. Right. So we talked about this for quite a bit of time. I said, look, you got an old typewriter here. You're the reception person. You've got a high pressure job. You've got all these people that are filing through here that are paying customers, but like, they're filing through. Look at them as potential patients. This is how you got to think. Right. So as I come in, I'm a potential patient. So what I want you to do is have your back to me. We'll put a mirror there so you can see me, so no one can get the jump on you. And then you pound away on this old typewriter. It doesn't matter what you type. Rip the paper out, throw it, you know, and like, when I come in, snap your head around really quick and say, "Take a number. How about 13?" You know, and, and then you go back to this and this and this, you know, grab the phone, and it's just like, "He's dead." Click, like this, grab all your pencils and throw them up in the air so they stick in the tiles. You know, and that's how you get someone thinking, this woman is batshit crazy. And that's what you want if that's the part you're playing. You have to be in the role. They got it to the point where it was so good. We had worked it so tightly that they stayed in character even when it was their break time. And the way they did break time is the one guy would race out of the building with a straitjacket half on, you know, doing that with two guys chasing them, you know, in white coats, right? And then they would have their lunch or whatever, and when they came back, they had them all in the straitjacket, and they were dragging them back to the event, right? Like, perfect. That's amazing. That's being in character, and it's you're out of your element. But other people that are going to other venues within the venue, right, see all of this. They're entertained the entire time. And they have a good time, and they come back, right? I tell people about building character, right? As is with this woman. I said to her, you know, if you think you're going to show up here at 4:00 in the afternoon without any practice and you're going to pull this off, you're going to fail. You can't. I want you to live it. I want you to live it for a few hours before you get here. Change your name. Get into the mindset of it. Be that person. Then you've got a chance. Once you're no longer Becky, right? And now you're this other girl, right? Then you're away. If you're John, you know, the high school student or the janitor, you know, coming to help out at the Halloween park kind of thing, and you're walking in as John the janitor, right? Well, you can't put on a Frankenstein monster or a serial killer or whatever it is, vampire. You can put all the stuff on,
Right.
but you just can't get into that whole I am this thing.
Right.
When I used to do interviews with people, it was a lot of fun because they would say to me, like, this one woman said to me, she said, you can scare everybody, but I don't know how you do it. I said, well, I can read people. I've been doing it so long, I can read people.
Mm.
She goes, can you scare anybody? I'm like, not anybody, but I can pick people out of a line that are terrified.
Mm-hmm.
So they had interviews going on for the food trucks and stuff like that. So I had my back to them, and I already scoped out the whole line. And I said, there's 2 people in that line that I know I can scare. And she goes, oh, come on. I'm like, for sure, I'll show you. I'll totally show you how to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I walked over to the first one, and I walk really slow with real purpose, and I just relax into it. Like I am eternal. Like, I don't have to hurry. I don't need to run.
Mm-hmm.
Tomorrow is just another tomorrow. So I get up, I walk, and she's already looking at her feet. Like, she sees me coming from like 100 feet away,
Mm-hmm.
and she's looking at her feet. She don't want to talk to me. So I walk past her. So she's doing the whole, I made it. This is good. I made it. So then, I sort of stop. I do the backup walk, which unsettles people. And I turn around, stand beside her in line. And she's just standing there. And I'm like, hello. And she puts her head down, all the way down. So I put my head down, but I crank my neck, and now I'm looking up at her. So she's looking down, and she's looking right into my face. And I'm just like, what you doing? And then she just sort of whoop, out of the line, right? And so I look back at the girl with the clipboard, and I just go, that's one. And so I walk the aisle, I get all the way to near the back, and there's this short little guy there. He's there for a job. And I know he's terrified. He's just terrified because his background, his
stance.
Yeah, everything. But his people, his belief, his culture, they don't like any of that. And I know that.
Mm-hmm.
I know that, hands down, without a doubt. So I walk up to him really slow, and he's really short. So I just kind of lower my height till I'm like literally face to face with him. And he's looking at me. I'm looking at him. I'm like, boo. He turns and bolts. He runs right out, and he doesn't ever come back. He leaves the park, the gates are swinging, and he never comes back. I look back at the lady and like, and that's 2. And that's how you do it.
So essentially, you build the character, you live in the character.
100%.
Your character also has to have a backstory.
100%.
Right. So when you are in character and somebody's zinging questions at you,
yeah, you got to know what.
Out with bam, bam, bam. They can't.
100%. What I tell people is like, if you're going to create a character, don't make it so complicated that you can't figure your own stuff out. Because people today, they're smart, right? They really are. I mean, they're book smart. Put it that way. Well read. So if you come up with a character with a name that's got like, oh, my name's blah 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 blah, and the little 14-year-old smartass goes, can you spell that? Done. Busted. Right? So keep it simple. Right? The second thing is, if you're a vampire or a monster or whatever else, and you say, oh, I'm like 4,000 years old. When were you born? What's your birthday? Let me think. 4 minus 12 plus 2. Busted.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Keep it simple. Like, so all I used to do is I would take the real time that I've been born, like my 1963, right? And I would just subtract. I would add 200 years. So I'd go back 200 years, right? Mm-hmm. So it's 1963, it's 1763. It's easy math. So now I'm 63 years old. I'm 61 years old, whatever, right? I'm 261. Mm-hmm. It's easy math. It's easy to remember. Don't make it crazy because you can't remember it. Right. Remember your name. Remember how to spell it. Have a good story. Where did you come from? I remember this one young lady, really, really sweet. She comes running up to me, not scared at all. And I'm not going to scare that person. They're just having a good time. And she comes up to me. I'm just leaning against a post, being my vampire self. And she goes, hey. I'm like, good evening. She goes, how are you? I'm like, I'm all right. She goes, you're lying. I'm like, oh, am I? And you know this how? She goes, I can read people. I'm like, can you? That's interesting. She goes, yeah, you're really sad. Am I? Well, why do you think I'm sad? She goes, well, I don't know. I can just tell that you're sad. You know what? You should talk about things. You should get things off your chest. It'll make you feel better. I'm like, you think? Do you think that would make me feel better? And they're like, she's like, yeah, I know. I know a lot about this stuff. It's probably like 15, right? And I'm like, okay, I'll do that for sure. You're right. I am sad. She goes, why are you sad? Well, I said a long, long time ago, I met someone I loved more than anything in this world. And I told her I would love her forever. But the problem is she's human and I'm not. So she passed away and I had to bury her. And I told her as I buried her that I would wear our wedding ring forever. And I said, sadly, last Saturday, the ring actually wore out and it broke in two. So I hopped on a plane. I flew all the way back to England. I went to her cemetery. I cleaned it up. I cleaned up her grave. And I dug a little hole at the head of the stone. And I put the ring inside. And I kissed the stone. I said, I still miss you. And that girl looked at me. And she's like, oh, my God. Oh, my God. That's the most... Oh my God, that's the saddest story I've ever heard. I don't know if you're real or not, but my heart's breaking for you. She runs over to all her friends. She goes, that poor man over there, he had to bury his wife and he buried her ring and now he's lonely and he's so sad. That's right.
In character.
The whole way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So see, you got the whole thing planned out.
Always.
So with that being said, you have, when you worked Screamers, it made so much money for this non-for-profit organization that it actually became the poster child event for the same organization throughout the entire country.
Yep, that was pretty cool. It was really good. They went from they didn't even make money. They made no money at it. They had a huge farm, and half a dozen people would come, and they lost money every year. Mm-hmm. And I went out. I told, look, I'll come out and have a look at it. Well, what do you want? It's just pay my hotel and stuff until I can figure out like what you're doing, right? I don't want your money. I don't want your money. Let's just figure out how to make it work, right? It's a charity, right? So let's just cover my expenses and we'll call it even. How about that? So, and it was a really good event. They had a really nice layout, but it wasn't, they didn't utilize it at all. Like not at all, not anywhere. It was a sad sort of situation. Anyway, the organizer, he said, listen, I want to take you down to the very back of the property for where a tractor ride is. And we don't know what to do with it. We went down there on the tractor ride and I'm like, you don't know what to do with this. What do you do? Like, this is great. At the end of this, about 15 minutes, he goes, not to be disrespectful, but does this stuff just ramble around in your head? Like all the time? Like, how do you spit this? We've had guys on this for 2 years and you've spit out an entire thing in 15 minutes that's gold. I'm like, I don't know. It dropped as a child. I don't know what it is. It just works, right? But we worked it out so tight that it was they'd never seen anything like it because it's a tractor drive. Okay, so everyone gets on the hay wagon and you go around and they had just like kind of people coming out of the forest and scary stuff, kids, scary stuff. No. Not at all. Let's make it work, right? So what I said to him, I said, you got this old tractor over here. Does that work? No. Okay, good. Let's take it down. So we tipped it on its side. We rolled a hay wagon on its side. And we put a motor on the back wheel. So the back wheel would just rotate and spin, right? And the little lights are flashing, right? Hay wagon's rolled over. We put a bunch of dead people, the bodies, hay and jeans and stuff like that. So it looked at a bunch of dead people. Okay, cool. And then we've got the zombies actually snacking on the hayride. Okay, so that's pretty cool. You come around a corner, boom, that's what's waiting for you. That's a little bit more macabre, but we make it better. So what we do now is we have the wagons that are actually operational. Everyone piles on them, including what I call a ringer. Now, a ringer is just somebody who is dressed in street clothes. This young lady had a Roots jacket on and jeans and a backpack, but she's an employee of the park, right? So that's cool. So she's my ringer. So they get ready to go, and the tractor guide, basically turns around and he says, okay, everyone, here's the deal. We're going to go on this run around. Tractor number 2 hasn't reported in. So they may have had engine trouble. So on the way down there, if we have to bring people back, we're going to have to squeeze them in a little bit tight. So if that's the case, we'll take you around again for free. So don't stress yourself. So now see, the story's set. See, the seed has been planted. Okay, there's a problem with the tractor somewhere. Okay, good. So they come bombing along, come down around the corner. Boom, there it is. You know, and everyone's kind of like, ooh. What's with that, right? And of course, as you're going past this thing, they stall the tractor, and his buddy's trying to get it going. Now all the zombies are coming towards the tractor. That's good. The ringer starts freaking out. Oh my God! Start the tractor! They're coming! Start the tractor! Get it moving! What's wrong with you? Right? Anyway, she's like, "Screw this! I'm out!" And she jumps off the thing, and she runs into the woods. And all you hear is like, "Bah!" And then they get the tractor going, and they drive away. And everyone in the tractor, in the back of the trailer, is going, "What about the chick that jumped off and screaming in the woods?" Right? Should be fine. So anyway, they go all the way out and all the way back, and it's done. That's the end of the ride, right? But see, now people get off that going, "Oh my God, there's this zombie thing down there, and this girl jumped off, and she disappeared. There was screaming. The guy wouldn't stop, right?" So then they get the next people on. So they go down. They go on. Now there's no zombies by that tractor. There's just dead corpses everywhere. So, and the tractor doesn't stall, and it kind of goes around, and everyone's going, "Oh, I wonder what the commotion was about." Anyway, this girl that jumped off before, now she's running out of the woods, all bloody and messed up. So I wait for me. I'm not one of them. Wait for me. Stop. And just before she makes the trailer, 2 zombies take her out, and there's a ditch that we filled full of foam rubber. She can't get hurt, right? Boom, take her right out. She disappears, gone, no screaming, nothing. Everyone's like, yeah, that's really cool. And you know what really cool about that is gas-powered leaf blowers are the coolest thing because they sound like chainsaws, but they're not chainsaws. So they hear the chainsaw start up, and the guys come running out of the woods, and they run the compressed air, the leaf blower air, on a tight stream along the back of your calves as you're sitting on the trailer. So you hear the chainsaw and you hear on the back of your legs. Everybody jumps because they think they just got cut through. Yeah. It's like sleight of hand, only really big.
Right. So, well, I mean, obviously, you definitely did a good job because it went on, like I said, to be the poster child for the rest of the country, and ends up being like, like a holy crap moment, and still going strong to this day.
Yep.
By the way, which has been what now? It's has to be at least 10 years.
It's got to be 10 years. Has to be 10 years.
Right. So
that's probably more than that now. I'm getting old.
Yeah. So that's pretty like amazing.
Yeah.
So you've also done talks at high schools and drama
same thing.
classes. Sort of interesting storyline with that as well.
There's a lot of interesting storylines with that stuff. Again, it's just it's my kids went to this high school. That's how it started. And I would I'm the vampire father. My kids would say it. Like, they go, "What does your dad do for a living?" "He's a vampire." No, really? No, he is. Great, perfect. That's all they know. My dad's a vampire. I drive him to school, and I had this hot rod hearse with vampire bats all over it. It's really cool. And I drop him off to school. Everybody like, "What's with this? That's your dad?" "Yeah." "Huh." My kids never had any problems at school. It was cool. But I got hooked up with the drama teachers there. It was a lot of fun. I would go in and again, just character building, talk about how to build a character, the importance of stage presence. And I would talk about stage presence. If you don't believe you, then your audience is not going to believe you. I would teach them how to do gore effects makeup. We would spend a whole afternoon just doing broken noses, broken knuckles, like slashes and burns and bruises, all kinds of stuff. It was a lot of fun. A lot of fun to do that. So if you can do it yourself, it's pretty easy to do yourself. Save you a lot of money, and you're very authentic at that point. It's pretty cool at that point. One of the stories, I think the one you're talking about, is I was at a park one night, and it was a 3-day event. And we had spotters that would do a lot of our dirty work for us. So they would listen. They were just not frontline characters. So they were like the mingling kind of character. They just walk around. They wouldn't do very much. But their job was to listen and watch. And they would get information on the person, like their name, for instance. So they would just walk past me as on a corner and go, oh, the guy with the red jacket, his name is John. I would just walk past them a little bit later on in the day, and I'd be like, evening, John. And he'd be like, how does that guy know my name? Like it's because they don't see the string of events that happens.
Mm-hmm.
They just some strange dude who looks freaky just called me by name. That's crazy. Right. Anyway, there was a young lady there that night, and her name was Brittany or Bianca or something like that. Mm-hmm. Anyway, I literally scared her right off her feet. Like she flew straight up in the air, terrified. And she was crying and everything. It was beautiful, just beautiful. Anyway, got her a couple times that night, and so she was leaving and heading out that night, and said goodnight to her, and she's just like, oh, I don't like you, stay away from me. And like, Anyway, so on Monday morning, I had a drama exhibit to do at a high school. So I show up and I meet the teacher.
Never gets old.
Oh no, it never does. So I come in early, meet the teacher, and he's a super guy, and we were just jamming at the door. And I'm like fully decked out vampire guy, no top hat, but just just the general vampire guy. Anyway, who comes walking around the corner on her way to class? Bianca. She walks around the corner, takes one look at me, and she's like, no. This can't be a thing. You can't be at my school. You're not real.
Oh my God.
And the teacher's just like, okay, that's enough. Get off the floor. Get up off the floor. What are you doing? I'm like, come on now. It's time for class.
No, see, that's another story, but there's one with a parent as well.
Oh, the one with a parent is another high school. I'd gone in to do a drama demonstration and being a believable character. And I'm believable. Believe me when I say I'm believable. Like I keep ice packs in my jacket, and when I'm talking to people, I have my hands across my chest, but my hands are on the ice packs. No one notices it. And I go and hang my jacket up. Nobody thinks when I talk, I keep my hands up. So all the blood runs down. So my hands stay cold. Mm-hmm. And I'll talk about like the hardships of being a vampire. It's you're cold all the time. Mm-hmm. And then what do you mean? And I'll just reach out and like, here, and I'll touch them. They're like, holy mackerel. It's like, August. It's supposed to be hot. I'm like frozen. They don't get it, but they don't equate. They don't follow the hand motion that I'm doing when I'm doing my thing. Right. Mm-hmm. Anyway, the teacher who we were really good friends back then, and I did a lot of stuff with her. Anyway, she phones me that afternoon, just in tears, laughing. I was like, "What's God? Your funny bone? Like, what's going on?" She goes, "I can't even breathe. Give me a second." She's like, "I got to tell you this story." And she goes, "So I started the class the day after you left, which was yesterday." And she said, I get the page from. Sorry, bear with me. I got the page to go to the office, see principal. I'm like, oh, this can't be good. Right? This can't be good. Just bear with me. My phone's on low power mode too here. It's having a bit of a hiccup. So
just charger right beside you.
I know, but then you lose my headset, right?
Got it.
Yeah, I'll have to just keep an eye on it for a little bit. Anyway, so the next thing, she says, I go downstairs and I see the principal, and there's a parent there. And she's just like, yeah, I want to talk to you. And she's like, yeah, what about? She goes, well, my daughter came home yesterday, and she told me that you brought a real vampire into the class to do a talk. And she goes, I think that's the stupidest thing anybody could ever do. And she's just like, well, why do you think that? She goes, what if he lost his mind? What if he lost control and killed the entire school? And the teacher basically said, she goes, what's your daughter's name? And she said, what class does she take? She goes, she takes drama with you. She said, that's right. You know what drama people do? They act. And he's a very convincing actor. He's very good at what he does. You gonna be all right?
I'm all right.
Okay.
No, it's actually it's funny. Dry cough. Sorry, I have a throat lozenge just to keep everything moist. So I'm talking, But yeah, that would be pretty funny. I would have to say.
Yeah, there's been so many like that.
Right? They believed it exactly.
So many believe it because I would wear jeans and a t-shirt like in the summer like everybody else, but I would have my fangs in my eyes. I wear sunglasses.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and people would just be like, "Oh, that's the guy from that's the Halloween thing, right?" They'd come and talk to me, and I'd be like, "Oh, hey, how's it going?" And they're like, "Whoa." Keep the dream alive, people. You know what I mean? That's how it is.
Right. And this actually went on your character that you created
Mm-hmm.
for all of this went
Yeah.
on to be the main character in your book series.
That's right. That's correct. Because just like anything else, when they asked me to be their front person, I had to build a backstory. I mean, if I'm going to be the main guy, your main guy
Mm-hmm.
for everything, then I need a story, and I need a good one, a really good one.
Mm-hmm.
So I started just getting a pen to paper, and I wrote a lot of little things back then. Like I wrote a lot of tech manuals, motorcycle shop manuals. I used to teach motorcycle maintenance, all that kind of stuff. So, but I never wrote anything like that. So I started just, this is the guy's name. This is where he comes from. This is his family. He's got a sister. He's got 2 sisters. Okay, cool. And we go along, and I build this whole backstory. And as I'm doing this, I'm thinking like, this is just way too good to be a character. Like this is way too out there. So after I did my event over there and hung it up for November the 1st, I thought I'm going to have a go at this. And I sat down. I'd never wrote a book. I never wrote a novel, that's for sure. And I sat down, and that thing literally wrote itself. Like, it's just, I look at it even today. I'll go back and read it sometimes and go, that's not me, man. That's not me. I had to have assistance with that from somewhere,
Right.
because that's beyond my capability to write like that. That's just nuts. But that's where the Vampyre Tales came from, or born from that character who I am, which is Aramis Eelbeck. And that's where it all came from. So when people would say, well, where are you from? Well, I'm from this little hamlet that doesn't exist anymore, but it would have been in this part of England.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
No, I love that. I love that. So this has become pretty much like a big, this is big business now.
It is, yeah.
Halloween haunted houses. You go to, I'm going to plug Spirits of Halloween, of course. There's all kinds of places like that. Heck, even Home Depot. You can go buy all this theatrical stuff.
Sure.
So this is big business, but it's also expensive business. So
it is.
Essentially, you've spoken at a lot of conventions for Halloween. They're called Halloween haunts for haunters who want to create something at their home.
Yeah.
And so what advice do you give to do it inexpensively, or what kind of a budget do you set aside for things like this? Like what's
the budget is as big or as small as you can make it. You know what I mean? A lot of stuff you can get, I make tombstones out of styrofoam. And a lot of people are throwing it away, like sheets and sheets of it. You just cut it with a knife or a jigsaw, whatever you want. And if you use a little bit of lacquer thinners, it'll melt it. So you can make the stones look ancient really, really quickly. I use a router to letter them. I just carve the letters in with a router. They look all brand new and neat. Then you put a little lacquer thinner on them and let the paint fill in the holes. And next thing you know, you've got a really, 200-year-old tombstone that works really well. Value Village, or like for people in the States, like, the Salvation Army, places like that, you can get used clothes from. Amazing stuff you can get from, and then you build a story around it. I mean, I one of my things I always said, you never do the same thing twice, because people come through and it becomes a problem, because if you have the same actor or the same static prop in the same location year after year, that prop or that actor gets kicked because the kid knows it's coming. Right? So you always change it up. That's just a rule of thumb. But the one year I decided I'm going to break that rule of thumb. And we had a mannequin just standing beside a rose bush in a bride's dress. And her side of her face had been ripped off like in a car accident. And she was just holding a rose and standing there looking at it. And it would scare the hell out of people, because they come around the corner and there's this life-size person standing there. And so the following year, I basically had a new actor, and she was about the same size as that mannequin. And I said, can you try this dress on? So she put it on. I'm like, oh, perfect. So we did up her face exactly the same way, the whole 9 yards, with the rose, everything. Perfect. You stand there. And the beauty of that was the people would come around the corner to the same place, and they would say, she's not real. I know she's not real because she was there last year. And they didn't pay any attention to her whatsoever. So they'd walk right on past her, and then she would just start following them. She would just step in the line behind them. I just quietly walk along. And eventually there'd be the one person at the back, the kid, the dad, the mom, turns around, here's a leaf crunch or something, it's getting wigged out, turns around, and there she is with no face, walking along with the dead rose, you know. Put the feet into high gear, here we go.
And yet it's something so simple.
It is simple.
Realistically.
People overthink a lot of stuff, and you don't really need to overthink a lot of stuff. You just have a theme. I mean, one year we made guillotines everywhere and axes and stuff like that. So that was the whole theme of it. And what I'd done was I had a very acrobatic young lady. She was a dancer or a gymnast, and told her what I wanted, and we dressed her up like a court jester. Okay, but we made her into a marionette. Okay, so she had like big long strings that you could see hanging from her wrists and her knees and stuff like that. And we put the court jester mask on the front, on the back of her head. Okay, and then we put the shoes on backwards and the whole 9 yards. So it looked great. And then we gave her a pair of big scissors made out of plywood. I mean, these things were like probably 3 feet long. And I had them stuffed down her pant leg. And so she would come dancing out up behind one of the tombs or one of the walls that we had set there, and the little bells would be ringing and stuff, and people would be like, oh my god, it's a clown-like thing, oh my god. Right? And she would dance all around, and then she'd come over to where you're walking, and then what would freak people out is she would turn around, and that would be her real face in makeup, and she'd go boo, which everyone would jump, and then she'd fan out the cards, and we bought a whole bunch of cards from the dollar store. Right? We pulled them all apart and put nothing but face cards. But then we took a hole punch and we punched the face out of every card. Right? So she fans the cards out and she goes, pick a card. So someone would pick the card and it would have no face. Right? And she'd be like, oh, gonna lose your head. And she'd fold the cards up and then she'd just dance away. And the one guy's like, forgot your card, like this, right? And he goes to give it to his wife. He goes, here. She goes, I don't want that. Now they're arguing about the card. But it was just that. It's just so simple. It's just little things like that. You don't have to go to a great deal of expense. You do have to go through time. You have to go through time with your actors or with yourself, whoever you want to be. You have to be in character, and that's how it goes. I find that the sleight of hand thing works great. You know, it really works great. You know, put a scarecrow out on a seat in front of your house, but put it out like 10 days ahead of time. So it's sitting there, right? And then get a matching pair of clothes and put them on the night of Halloween. Pull the scarecrow in and you sit there. Every kid on the street knows that scarecrow's been sitting there all week. It's not real. Is that what you think, is it? Yeah, stuff like that.
Right.
Lots of fun. And you got to be quick. I mean, when we had the funeral coach, one of my favorite scares was we put somebody in the back of the coach, right? So, and it was parked on the street. And the idea was she was all in black and everything was done. Her face was all macabre looking, just horrible. And she had bottles of Windex and tons of paper towel, and she had a big black blanket. So there was the curtains and there was a little space. And I promise you, when you have a hearse parked on the street in front of a haunted house, somebody walks up to that back window and goes against the glass.
Seen that firsthand many times.
Oh, yeah. And as soon as that happens, she pops up with the ripped off face and goes, bam, on the glass with a bloody hand. While every single person goes on the floor. Then she goes underneath the blanket. This one kid, he starts freaking and his dad's like, will you stop that? Pull yourself together. Oh, there's a thing in the car. Oh my God, there's a thing in the car. So he walks over, he looks in, nothing. Of course, because she's not going to do it twice, right? So this kid is losing his mind over it, right? So finally he gets up to me and he says, excuse me. He goes, do you have anybody in the car? I'm like, which car? He goes, the hearse out there. I go, oh no, I can't have anyone in the car. And he's like, are you sure? I'm like, yeah, when we buy the coaches, they actually have to weld the doors shut so we could never use it again for like to be in a funeral. Like there's no way to get into it except through the driver's seat. And that's a real pain. He's like, you see, kid, there's nothing in the car. Yeah, there is. Yeah, there is.
Mm,
Never let on.
genius.
I mean, it's again, we go back to simple. I mean, like we had one day we had people waiting at the line, big lineup, and I had people that are what I call just the regulars, people that fix stuff when stuff goes wrong. They're just in jeans and a coat. And it's I know who they are. They got staff on them, right? It's just who they are. We can pick them off, right?
Mhm.
This young lady comes to me and she starts standing there and she's bouncing, like she's like this, just like bouncing. And I'm talking to people and she's looking around bouncing, right? And I'm just like, can you excuse me for one moment, please? Hi, what is it? Like, I got people here. She's like, I know, I hate to bother you. She's like, I'm Valerie. I'm at the end of the line, right? Like, I know who you are. What are you doing here? And she's like, okay. All right. How many people are you sending in? I'm like, 5. And she's like, no, I said 7. I said 7. I said, okay, sorry, it's 7. I sent in 7 people. And she goes, okay, 7. Okay. All right, I'm only counting 5 people coming out. We're losing people. I'm like, shh, come here. I take her over to the side. We're talking. Everyone's like, what are you talking about, right? I'm like, okay, listen to me. It's all right, folks. It's okay. I'll be right with you. Okay, listen.
Nothing to see here.
There's 7 people, okay? Well, what about those other people? Shh. They'll be fine. It's going to be over in a couple hours. We'll go find them. Okay, don't worry about it. They'll be fine back there. We'll find them, and don't worry. It's okay. Go back. Do your job now. Okay. It's crying. It goes back. I turn around to everybody like, hey, okay. So who's next? Who's going in? Yeah. Simple stuff. Don't overthink stuff. Just start off simple and build from there.
Mm-hmm. So, budget-wise, what's a typical
For me?
Yeah.
Oh, man. People used to laugh at me. They're like, how do you spend so much money on Halloween? Well, I don't like sports. I don't drink. I don't smoke. I don't barbecue. I don't socialize. I don't go out. I don't do anything. I build Halloween stuff.
He really
So
does.
for me, it wasn't unreasonable. And we're talking like, I've been doing it for a long time, but the last event I did, we already had everything. Like, we had absolutely everything. I still managed to spend about $5,500. On cabling, wire, whatever else I was buying at the time to build what I needed to build, so it's just, but that's my fun. Like, I don't do anything else, so I spend $5,000 a year on fun. Okay. That's my fun. That's what I do. But yeah, a lot of fun. Live the adventure.
Right. But you don't have to go crazy. I mean, some people, this is a really big thing. Like, these conventions are, people go in there and learn a lot of stuff, and they basically, it's all about learning how to do the theatrics. And sometimes I think, just because I've partaken, in a couple, just working with you on certain conventions, I can't unsee some stuff. I'm just saying, I'll leave that there.
No. I'm going to just interrupt really quick if I can. I want to charge my phone here. I'm going to unplug my headset and get a different one.
Yeah.
So do you want to just take me out for a minute, or do you want to just look at
I will take you out. All right. So, yeah, I have been to conventions with Wayne, and we've been to a couple of these haunted conventions, and it's quite fascinating. People take it very, very seriously. They come in and they will do workshops all day. They will look at different props that you can purchase. They will talk to people who build these things. It's quite fascinating because before I knew him, and I've known him a really long time, I actually did not know this was a thing. I remember going to different Halloween haunts and hay rides and all that stuff, and I really had no clue the amount of thought, effort, work that was put into all of this. And now, you drive by a place and you realize, my God, the amount of work that is put into it. But I don't see locations as much anymore where you have all of the actors, and to the extent that he did. I mean, his place was in the papers. People would come like hours ahead to meet. Yeah, 400 people standing in line for almost an hour. It's got to be good. Because I don't know that I would do it. But I think it would definitely be interesting. Screamers in Niagara was the first. Yes, and they still have the haunted manor, I think, going on in Niagara Falls. I know because it's a big tourist place now. Um, but if you guys are in the Ottawa area, go check out Screamers. It's put on by the Kiwanis. The Kiwanis in the United States. I mean, it's sort of like the oh, who are the guys that drive the little cars? Same idea. There are a lot of different organizations that are charities, and they do for their communities, and they are the ones that put Screamers on. And I remember one time we had to take a coffin to Screamers, and he just put it in the back of the truck and put a sign on the back that said, "Grandma always wanted to go to Screamers." Oh my God. People lost their freaking minds just over that. And when we rolled in with that, people were just like, "Oh my God, this is great." I could not believe the amount of attention that we got. And then there was this other time where we also getting back to the hearse thing, we went and picked up people who know me know that I do have a large funeral collection, antique funeral collection. So I had to go to Sault Ste. Marie one time and pick up this 1854 Oddfellows coffin, and it just beautiful, beautiful piece. And the guy was meeting me there from New Hampshire. So Wayne had the hearse. He goes, "Oh, you can't just put that in the back of the truck. You just want to lock this thing down, and that's it." I swear to God, driving this hearse, and everywhere we stopped, it was just kind of funny though, because the people would kind of look at us and go, look at him and go, "Is that your car?" We're the two weirdos in the entire coffee shop.
No.
No, it's not our car at the time, right? But even going through the border, I mean, they didn't even want to talk to us. They come across with a coffin, and they're just like, "No, Jeff, just go. Do you want to look inside?" No. We just don't want to look inside. Just get out. So that had to have been, I think, the easiest border crossing I had ever done. So yeah, it's never ever a dull moment.
Let me tell you a funny story that's it's a little bit out of the wheelhouse, but not far out of the wheelhouse. But I was going to an event, all right, so I've got the funeral coach, and I'm entirely gothed out, so this was out in the boons somewhere, and it was before cell phones and things like that, again, dating. But so I got turned around somewhere. I'm lost. I'm trying to figure out where this place is. So here, the next gas station or coffee shop, I'm gonna have to pull in and get the map out. Like, yeah, no GPS, no nothing, right? You know the story, right?
Yeah, you're in character.
Oh, totally.
Right.
Fangs, eyes, makeup, the veins on my face, like the long
Right.
velvet coat, my fingernails all bloodied up and everything. It was wild.
Right.
So I pull into this little coffee shop, off the side of the road, and I pull in, and as I drive by, it turns out it's the local goth kid hangout. Like, that's like a gift from heaven, right? So I figure I'm going to play it up a bit. So I park the car a little bit further away from everybody. I get out of the car, and I lay the map out on the hood of the car. So I'm just trying to figure out where I'm going, right? While at the same time, like, handing it up a bit, right? So at that moment, they send out the alpha. The alpha goth kid comes out in his plastic pants and stuff. So he comes walking over. And I'm on the driver's side, and he makes sure he's going to stand on the passenger side of this car, which is, funeral coach is huge, especially the old ones. And he puts his hands gently on the fender, and I'm not even looking at him, right? I'm just got my head down. And my contact lenses were like the full lenses, and they were black, like completely black. And he leans in a little bit, and he goes, "Hey, you're not from around here, are you?" And I look up at him, and he jumps because now he starts looking. I've got no eyes, right? I look at him. I'm like, "Are you John?" And he just stands back. He goes, "Oh, no, I'm not." I tilt my head a little bit. I'm like, "Do you know where John is?" He's like, No, man, I don't." And I just put my head back down. And I start going to the map. This kid bolts. He runs back into the little coffee shop, and like I look up just enough, and he's in there with his goth friends, going like like freaking, and he's like pointing at his eyes and freaking. Like he's saying basically, get on the phone and call John. There's a weird guy looking for, because it's a small town. I promise you, there's a John. Somewhere at that little high school, there's a kid named John, and there's a vampire looking for him. So right now, that guy's probably in his 40s, telling his grandkids about the time this guy came to town.
Right? Oh, no, I love it. I love it.
It's all about being in character. Like I'm going to an event, so I'm going to stay in character. I'm not going to break character unless, I'm really terrifying somebody, and I don't want to do that in just the public domain because you can get shot.
Right, right. Oh my God. Yes, that is the cat's name is Dexter. He is a Bengal, and he is a big drama queen.
Huge.
So, right. So he's probably thinking, wait, somebody's here sharing space, and they're not giving me food. I can assure you that is the whole situation that is unfolding right now as we speak. So
apologies on the cat. He's disappeared,
right.
so it should be quiet for a while.
Dexter. Oh yeah. Yeah, well, Dexter doesn't like being touched a whole lot. So, but he is an rose. What is it? An Asian rose snow Bengal. So he's got big spots on him, and he's sort of a white and a bit of a pinky tone. He's really beautiful. He's a beautiful, beautiful cat. But there's a reason that I named him Dexter. That's exactly what you're thinking. Yeah.
Perfect for Halloween.
He's a bit spun. That's for sure. But okay, so of course, we lived in a haunted manor house.
Yeah.
As well. So it was fun because Wayne would dress up vampire for Halloween.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was good to answer the door like that. After a while, like the new people would move in on the street, and I'd be out in the summertime, like looking after the rose gardens and things like that. And people would walk by and go, "Oh my God, this is the vampire house I heard so much about." I'm like, "Huh? What? What do you mean you heard about a vampire house? What are you talking about?" Like I didn't know it. I didn't know it had that kind of reach and that kind of notoriety. But yeah, thank you.
Right. And that was the real haunted house. And everybody would figure that it would spike up at Halloween, but it didn't really feel like it spiked up at Halloween. No. I mean, it
actually got quiet. It got quiet as the temperatures cooled off. I found that I used to say the spirits had like a winter house in Florida or something like that, because from about mid-October until like May, it was really quiet in there, really, really eerie quiet in that place. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden, like around, I guess, I think New Year's and Christmas, you'd get a little bit more activity. But the summertime was the time there was footsteps, footsteps and sounds and music and people talking, and it was like full blown conversations. You just can't quite make them out, Like I remember this one time, there's women upstairs, and I hear like there's an older woman and a younger woman just by the tone of voice, and it's just you hear click 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 of the shoes, and you hear like and you hear and then tick, 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 tick. I guess that didn't go well.
I know. It was any given time, things that go on. But we had the one New Year's, the house was empty because we were in a different city. So the house was empty for probably about 3 months. And there was no forced air. It was all radiator heating.
Radiator heat.
Nobody was walking around. It was obviously New Year's Eve, so no bugs, nothing. But we had security cameras everywhere, and they kept tripping. And so I'm like, okay, I'm going to go in there and see what the heck's going on. It's getting ridiculous. So I would remotely go in and look at the cameras. Now, I'm funky with orbs because I'm really logical researcher, contrary to what television would have you think. I'm actually a pretty logical researcher. And I know there's a lot of things that could be orbs. And I know that nothing applied in this house because there was literally nobody in it, no pets, nothing. And all of a sudden, the cameras are picking up huge orbs. They're coming out of the mirrors. We had double orbs going up into the chandelier. We had things starting off on one end of the parlor. It would shoot across 2 rooms and disappear. It would end up in a piano room. I mean, it was a ridiculous amount of things. It was nonstop. And it went on from about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And by midnight, it was done.
Yeah, finished.
And we ran out of, everything you subscribe to was okay. We have so much hard drive here, that we paid for through our security provider, and I had run out of that probably in the first 3 hours. So I'm trying to screenshot things that's happened. I had to just keep looking at it because we couldn't save anymore. The footage, we were just out of space. That was the only time it ever happened. It never happened again. Before then, it never happened after.
We had orbs that had faces in them. Some of them were really clear, like really clear faces. Unbelievable.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it was insane. Yeah, you would just blow them up. You would take the screenshot and you would look at it and go, what the heck is this?
Yeah.
It was just, obviously there was some kind of a party going on that we weren't made privy to. And the house is being enjoyed, which is great. But the house essentially was built by the original owner for his wife to entertain it. And that's exactly what she did. Right. And the spirits of the house were great as well, because they would basically tell us, like, if you were looking to do renovation, we were looking for a doorway, they would tell us where everything was. So you'd go and you would follow that direction and you would find exactly what they were trying to tell you.
Well, I got on well with the spirits there, I believe, because I had a lot of respect for them. They built this house, they cared for this house, and I wanted to do the same. So, like, I'm going to tear down the dining room ceiling because it's fallen down. I've got to repair it and do the electrical work in there. But I don't just go and do it. I'd walk into the kitchen or into the formal parlor, and I would just call out to them and say, can I speak to you for a few minutes? I just want to let you know what's going on in the next day or two. And I would literally wait, 30 seconds or so, and I'd be like, okay, I don't know if you're here. I can't tell. I'm not gifted like that. But anyway, listen, I got to tear the dining room ceiling out. Don't be alarmed. I'm going to put it all back. It's really in bad shape, and it's going to kill someone if it comes down. So if you see me up there with a hammer and a saw, like, don't lose it. I'll put it back. It'll be pretty. Never had a problem with tools going missing and people being silly and stuff like that happening. I was always a good rapport with them. Very good rapport with them.
No, they were really good to coexist with.
Yeah, they were lovely.
You'd come in and dining room door would swing open right in the middle of the day.
Yeah.
You just stand there. As I remember, we had like a handyman who was there at the time, and the thing just swung open. I looked at him, he looked at me, and we just sort of went,
yeah, that's a thing. But there'd be rose perfume, like,
really.
And we didn't clean with any perfumes and things like that because of allergies and stuff. But I knew when the lady at the house was around because it was this beautiful floral rose perfume that would just kind of waft on past you and it'd be gone. I was working in one room with the same friend, and we were just working away, and this little British voice, female voice, is just like, hello, like that. And we had our back to the door, and we both turn. We're up on ladders, both turn around, doors open. There's no one there.
No.
So it was so real. Like, I didn't hear it in my mind's ear. I heard it with my ears, and so did he. Like, I got down, walked out. I thought it might be the neighbor, come over and look, see what we're doing, right? And wandered all around the property. Nada. Nobody.
No, it was always interesting in there when things just randomly happen. I remember coming home one day, and at the bottom of the stairs, it was a guy's voice, and like an older man. He just says, "Well, hello." I'm like, "Hey." Like, Wayne.
You thought it was, I was going to say, you thought it was me at first playing a prank on you, but I wasn't. I was at the back.
I know. He comes up from the back part of the house. It's just like, okay.
Yeah, it wasn't me
that's
this time.
New,
Yeah, rule number 1 is you don't prank Michelle if you want to keep your eye sockets intact.
I do well with pranking. I don't really fancy it.
I know, and I haven't. I like my soul.
He's pretty good because he's a pranker.
Yeah.
And it would not turn out very well for him.
Nope. Not at all.
Many times. Don't be doing that crap around me. Nope. Not if you want to live to talk about it. So, but
some people are into it, some people aren't. That's the way it goes.
No, for sure, for sure.
Yeah.
But you end up at like a haunted house. But again, it was interesting too because the spirits of the house are also protective of the house. Like the time when all the alarms went off,
Oh yeah, it was wild. Yeah, that was
and
wild.
yeah,
We had a small, well, it was small and grand thing, but I had some tools ripped off that I was doing a job outside, and we'd lock them up in a lockbox outside, and someone had cut the lock and done it very carefully so that it didn't look like it was tripped. It was
mhm,
really sneaky. And, I called the police, everything else, right? So
mhm,
it's gone, right? What can you do, right? So I remember looking out the window that day, and I could feel the lady of the house literally come right up beside me, and it's a perfume smell, and I could feel the distress in her energy, and I
mhm,
just said, please don't worry about it. And and it said, well, you work really hard, and I'm like, yeah, we all work hard. You had bad people in your day too. Don't fret about it. It's okay.
mhm,
Anyway, that's how it started, and that night, well, I mean, a couple nights later, I guess, we were still working out there, but I wasn't leaving anything else out there. That's for sure. And I was just going to bed, and it was probably about 2 a.m. And the fire alarms in the house went off because it used to be a bed and breakfast. So they were all wired floor to floor to floor to room to room to room. One goes, they all go. Lights come on, emergency. You could see this thing from Mars. All the lights in the house go on,
big
everything. Like
house, yeah.
it's just crazy. And it's loud. So like I get up, my son gets up and he's upstairs. I'm downstairs. I walk out there. He's looking down from the balcony. I'm just like, he's like, what's going on? I'm like, I don't know. He goes, I gotta check it, right? And it stops. He goes, well, it stopped. I'm like, you can't not. It's just, Joe, check it. And he's like, okay. So he went room to room. I went room to room. We walked all around the whole place. Couldn't find anything. Okay, whatever. So get back in my bedroom. My butt just sat on the edge of the bed. Boop, away we go again. Holy mackerel. So he comes downstairs. I come out, and they shut off. And he looks at me. He's like, okay, so what's going on? And I said, I don't know. Got to figure it out. I go, what's your guess? And he goes, I think it's the spirits trying to give you a warning that someone's wandering around. I'm like, yeah, that's what I thought too. Okay. So I said, you go upstairs and check. I'm going to walk around outside and see what's going on, and we'll meet in the middle, kind of thing. He's like, okay. So we start heading off, right? So I do my thing, he does his thing. I come in through the back door, and I hear his voice go, "Hey, Dad," like that. Clue number one. He never calls me dad, ever, not in a million years. He
No.
called me dad, right? And his name is Steven, right? And stop it, cat.
Cat wants his minutes of fame.
Shut up, you're ruining the interview. Anyway, he comes in, and he says, what do you want? I said, I don't want anything. You called me. He's like, what? No, I didn't call you. He said, you called me. I was coming down the stairs, and you said, hey, Steven, where are you? And I'm like, I never call you Steven. I call you Steve. He's like, yeah, I know. It's so weird. I'm like, well, you called me, but you called me dad. He's like, I never call you dad. What the heck? What's going on? But see, that's the spirits, because
Yeah.
they would know modern connection. They would speak very properly, and they do
Mhm,
speak properly. So even when we were doing, well, I remember when we were having that first investigation, Michelle, when you came over,
mhm,
and I went up to, we'd only been in there 2 months, I guess,
mhm,
and I went in to go into my son Steve's room, who was away. He was away that weekend.
mhm,
And I walked in, and we had the Ovulus,
mhm.
and I walked in the room, and it went in its little mechanical voice, Steven, just like that. And I was like, yeah, that's my son. And it's like, when? I'm like, when? When? Like now? It's when.
Mhm,
And I finally went, oh, you want when? Like now. Okay, here's the date. It's like 2010 or
mhm,
2009,
mhm,
like that. And then it stopped, and it went, where? I'm like, here? And it
mhm,
started again, where? And I'm like, oh, he's not here right now. He's out of town. He's visiting his mother. And the voice went, where? Because they thought the person I was with at the time,
mhm,
that was his mother.
mhm,
And I'm like, oh, no, no, no. It's not like that. I understand that. We're not living together. We live
mhm,
in separate cities. You would know it as York. I live here. We're no longer
mhm,
together. That box said, sorry.
mhm.
like that. And then it went Aaron. That's my other son, Aaron. Right. And I'm like, yeah, that's my other son. And it went brother, Steve. I'm like, that's right. That's Steve's brother. Where? I'm like, oh, he lives way, way far away over here. And there was no more. That was it. We had a full-blown back and forth
Yeah.
conversation, and I
Crazy.
couldn't get over it. It was the most interactive conversation I ever had with a spirit person, ever.
Hmm.
Since then and before then.
Hmm.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So there's a
It
big
was.
difference between a theatrical haunted house where we go, and scare the crap out of you,
Mhm.
and one that's it's just beautiful. It's just a beautiful place.
Yeah, the house looked foreboding. I mean,
Love it.
the Amazon guys would not ever come to the front door.
Nope.
They would fling packages from the sidewalk or at the bottom of the steps and fling them and hit the door, or they would throw it up on the step. They would
And
not
run.
touch the house. Yeah, they would run. They would
They would
just want
run.
nothing to do with
I
it.
couldn't get over it.
I used to report it all the time because things were getting wet. There's a huge veranda. There's just no reason. I could just slide it underneath the roof at least. And they were so superstitious. They were very gifted, but they wanted nothing to do with that house. And I mean, it's not that the house didn't have its share of interesting negative visitors, but I mean that was few and far between, right? So on an average, people would come film at the house and have a great time. I mean, the spirits would drop coins from the ceiling, and the one crew were able to capture that on camera. But there were some interesting things in that house. So it was sad to see it go, but I'll tell you, when we left it and we got to a more quiet place, it was went from this big Gothic manor house to this beautiful British style cottage. Yes, we had lots of fun there, didn't we, Mel? We sure did. We sure did. I remember just saying to him, like, did you hear that? And he goes, it was what? I'm like, absolutely freaking nothing.
Nothing. No sounds.
Oh,
no creaking floorboards. No anything. No buzzy
nothing.
noise. The energy was always buzzy, really buzzy.
Always.
Yeah.
Always. Yeah.
I mean, when I was writing book number 2, Mary, I used to write in the tower.
Mm-hmm.
And one night I was just there. It was late. It wasn't late night. It was like very early in the evening. I would say about 7:00. And I just had my feet up in the chair and I was tapping away on the keys. And I heard the front door, like plain as day, like the click and the swish of the door, and then a click and it shut. And I scuffling downstairs. I'm thinking, who is that? And they started coming up the stairs. I could hear the creak of the stairs. I know how many stairs there are up that comes. And literally when I was expecting to see a head pop up over the edge of the balcony, gone. The steps just stopped. Obviously, they looked over and went, "Oh, she's home." Poof, gone.
Yeah, it upstairs was a whole different world. I remember we had
big time.
We had a film crew there, so you were away. I was letting everybody in, and right when I looked into the front bedroom, I could see this beautiful, like a gown, the bottom of a gown just sweep across the floor and just disappeared out of sight. And this is like middle of the day, and I was just kind of like, did I just see that right? And when I locked up that night,
I remember this.
Yes, and you messaged me and you said, I'm sorry, just said, did you leave the lights on? Like,
yeah.
I would never leave the lights on.
Yeah, because I drove home. I got home quite late.
Crazy light lady. Everything gets battened down the hatches. I lock everything up. I take all the lights off aside from what's on the timers. And that was it. And then when you pulled up, all of a sudden the lights went off.
Well, the front bedroom light was on. I called you.
Yeah.
And because I didn't know if you were still filming.
Yeah.
I'm not going to walk in the middle of a film, right? So
yeah,
I phoned you and I said, "Hey, are you still here?" You're like, "No, we left hours ago." Well, the front bedroom light's on. Like, I assure you, it is not. I shut everything off. And I said, "Well, I'm looking at it right." Never mind, it just went off.
I know. It was wiki. It was wiki. But anyway, we're slowly coming up to the top of the hour, and I know, coming up to the 11 mark.
Hey, we didn't do a Folgers commercial. What the heck?
I know. Just
man.
going. I know.
Rock on with your bad selves, fathers. You
I
guys are
know.
great.
I know. Sorry, Folgers. I love
We love
you.
you. Tell you what, guys, I'll make you a commercial, okay? I'll put one together for you.
There we go.
All right?
That's what we're
There
going
you
to
go.
have to do. But I did notice that Steve McGinnis popped in tonight to say hello. And Steve McGinnis is the artist behind, is a friend, and you see by his little his picture there. He's the artist behind our banners and our logos, and we give him a shout out usually 2 or 3 times a show when I'm actually behaving and I'm on cue. Um, so, um, thank you. That's true. Thank you. Wish we had more time because the haunted stories of that house are just fantastic, and we could just go on and on with it. So many amazing stories, but that's maybe for another time as we're there. So, thank you, Wayne. How does everybody find you and your books and things?
Usually on a construction site somewhere. But
Wow.
you can find my website. It's just my name. It's waynemallows.com. And if you're interested in the books, you can certainly peruse the pages. I think I haven't updated it in a while, but there's a number of first chapters of each book because each book is vastly different from the last one. So they're a series, but they're all different. Some are modern times, some are very old, some are somewhat old, and it's all neat. So you can read the first chapter and go, yeah, I really like this, or no, I really like the second book first. I think I'll do that one first, right? So it gives you an idea what the writing style is like, right? And
Mhm.
you can email me. It's wayne.mallows@hotmail.com, and I will write you back, promise.
He does. Yes, he does. He's very good.
I do my best.
Um, so big thank you to you for hanging out tonight. It was a lot of fun, and
Sorry
I
for the
hope
tech issues. I don't know what was wrong with my computer. It would not connect to anything tonight. It was just being horrible.
between you and the cat, I don't know.
It's me. I keep telling you, you won't believe me. It's just me, born under a dark star or
Freaking
something.
Dexter, I know. Yeah, I did name him from Dexter from the television show. Cat's just like, woohoo. Anyway, yeah, it was a lot of fun, and I'm hoping, I wanted to do a show like this before. And I think we're just going to do it, darn it, because so many people now, you still have 3 weeks to pretty much get ready for Halloween. And
Sure.
maybe you can, I'm hoping, maybe you guys were able to get some ideas out of this. It doesn't have to be huge,
No.
it can be really small, low key. It's quality.
Oh yeah.
Quality.
It's all about what you have to work with. Simple things work best. I mean, we had a mannequin that was sitting cross-legged, so we just had one of the actors sit cross-legged and dress like the mannequin. We had made him up like gargoyles. One was live and one wasn't.
Right,
Beautiful, beautiful
right.
thing. You just make it simple. It works wonders.
I could
And
try.
if you take a bunch of celery and you snap it really quick, it sounds like someone breaking your neck.
See,
See?
that's easy right
Little
there.
things to do.
That's an easy one. It's all about the little things.
Yep, things you learn as you go along.
Exactly. Well, everyone, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for hanging out with us in the chat room. You make it that much more fun. You really do. Sorry to everybody on Roku. It's just been a nightmare. I do not know what's going on with technology everywhere right now, but it is definitely an issue. Big thank you to Folgers Coffee. Big thank you to Justin Snicker, aka Dr. Stick, the Sonic Surgeon. Big thank you to Steve McGinnis. We appreciate you all so very much. Tomorrow night, we are joined again by Dr. Rita Louise. And I'm trying to bring back people from the Wayback Machine because we have so many more listeners now. She's going to be talking about her book, Dark Angels, An Insider's Guide to Ghosts, Spirits, and Attached Entities. It was a hit the first time. I guarantee you guys, especially for new listeners, it will definitely be a hit once again. So we are definitely going to be ready to go tomorrow. So we'll see you tomorrow night. And again, for everybody who's going through the hurricane that was supposed to be hitting as we speak, I'm sure our hearts go out to you. And we love you. And we hope that you all made it out and you have no further no further. We don't want any casualties. We don't want any of that. So anyway, our heart goes out to you. Our thoughts are with you. Thank you all, and good night.